Okay, so welcome everybody. Welcome Stephan, Pende, to our session on the 37 practices of the Bodhisattva. I will put the text link in the chat when we get started here. And ready to go whenever you are, Stephan.
Yes, welcome New York and Canada and Sweden and Denmark. Great. I considered to cancel today because I have COVID. And, so I feel the symptoms are mild, but I'm a bit feverish. So if I start to sweat or cough or sneeze or something like that, so I'm not only looking maybe sick, I am sick. And yeah, I considered canceling, but then I thought I could use a moment like this for an important message.
Stephan,
I mean, I also need to. Yes.
I was going to say, if you need to stop, please let us know. I'm sure we'll all be happy to help you.
It doesn't require a lot of effort for me to just sit here. But in case I'm a bit unfocused or so, then you know. So what I would like to say is the most important thing is to remember there's always the possibility in whatever situation you find yourself in to bring your heart to the Dharma. And that's what we're doing here right now. That's why we're coming together, to remind ourselves of that opportunity. And then I thought maybe by me being sick and turning up, as all of you turn up, that can be a powerful reminder for that. So that is always the possibility to in your heart to turn towards the Dharma, and to make that or to allow that to become an automatic response in your life. So whatever happens inside of you, whatever tragedies happens around you, as practitioners, we always have that possibility, and that at one point that is what's going to happen. That when something happens without a lot of thinking, without a lot of how can I respond to this situation, you will find yourself in your heart to turn towards the Dharma. And what you turn to from the rich bouquet of the Tibetan Buddhist tradition, that will be probably different for all of us. So when our heart turns to the Dharma without shoulds, without commitments, but just because your heart loves the Dharma, and your heart found its home in the Dharma, then that's where your heart goes. So important, and that's what I'm trying to do also when we go through this text, to offer it in a way so that you can find something within this which speaks to you, where your heart, what your heart likes, what makes sense to you, so that when you find yourself sick, when you find yourself challenged, that your heart knows where to go. A couple of days I talked with a young Danish woman who had an accident, and she hit a deer on the road. And which could be like a kind of traumatic experience, just particularly in Denmark. I mean, she managed to hit one of the 2 deers who still are alive here. There's hardly any forest in Denmark left. And it was beautiful how she told me that immediately her heart, her mind went into the medicine Buddha practice, because we just have done that. We just did together some medicine Buddha practice. So her response was to do the medicine Buddha mantra for the deer. And so that's such a inspiring experience when you notice in yourself that in situations like this, instead into going into panic and reactivity, something in you, your heart turns to the Dharma. And how do we get there is by familiarizing ourselves with the Dharma, like we do now, reminding ourselves of the Dharma, deepening our connection with the Dharma through a daily practice, and to make that practice genuine and authentic, our own practice, something we love, something which is beautiful and precious in our life, something where your heart longs to be. So turning to the Dharma, and it's always possible if you're sick, if you're going through a period of grief, if you lose something, that's always the possibility. And one of the hard practices available to us through this text is the practice of Tonglen. So we are in this section of the text, these 6 verses around Lojong, transforming problems, connected with the practice of Tonglen. So that's one practice, which is something which we can always respond with, whatever happens in our life. The practice of Tonglen, the practice of giving and taking. And before our first meditation, I would like to quote Ken MacLeod from his commentary to verse 17. Where he summarized the practice of Tonglen. The purpose of taking and sending is to use difficult and powerful emotional reactions to awaken into a clear awareness, free from the projections of thoughts and feelings. The purpose of taking and sending is to use difficult and powerful emotional reactions, problems, to awaken into a clear awareness. So in our first meditation, I want to bring this pith instruction that this situation, whatever you bring with you into this moment, is a possibility for us to awaken from the content of our experience, from that which we are experiencing and what we are invested in and what we are identified with, to awaken from that, to kind of step out of that into that which is bigger than you. So that's what you could call awakening, that shift from being identified in the patterns, in the reactions, in your emotions, and being very tight around it, feeling maybe overwhelmed by the content, and to awaken from that by first stepping into it, by first fully experiencing what we're experiencing in the body. And in that relaxation of the resistance to what is happening, by giving space, by allowing the situation, the experience, a new possibility might open. Something else can shine through. And then the next step would be to respond to the situation, not from the collapse of the narrative self into the reactive patterns, but to respond to the situation from something which is more aligned with your heart, something which is more loving, more spacious, more open. Because when we are in our reactive patterns, the way we respond to any situation might not be as creative, as loving, as kind as we actually would like to respond. Okay, so let's take our seats together in our virtual Gompa. Take your time to adjust your posture, appreciating the togetherness. And then if you like, you can close your eyes without losing the connection with your surroundings and with this meeting. But a bit more emphasis on your inner life and the inner weather of today. And then you allow this to happen, the shift from the head into the body. And just notice the whole body, the way you sit. Notice the surface which is carrying you. The stability of your posture. And in taking your seat, you also connect with the others in our meeting who are taking the same seat in this Mahayana temple as a Sangha, as this brother and sisterhood of fellow travelers. And so slowing down and taking your seat is actually a very important part of our practice. To take your seat in the midst of what you're experiencing, in the midst of your life, with the willingness to experience what is. So in this taking your seat, you express a certain courage and dignity, but also a deep vulnerability. And then to strengthen the connection with your inner life in the felt sense of your body. With each in-breath, you slide into the body. It's like dropping from the head into the body, particularly into the trunk of your body. Maybe you want to breathe a little deeper for a few moments. And then with the out breath, softening, giving space, a bit like sighting. And maybe through that, your belly and your shoulders can relax a little. And as best as you can, make that movement, that gesture, a gesture of welcoming yourself, welcoming your inner life as it is, with breath and awareness. And maybe in the felt sense of your body, you find some discomfort, some pain, some tiredness, or maybe you are just fine. So whatever it is, we just let it be. Just breathing with it together. And by breathing with your own energies, befriending them, you're aware that you befriend all of us. You breathe with all of us. So you give to all of us what we need because you give to yourself what you need. Loving attention. And in order to take care of what might be difficult within you right now, you don't need to tell yourself stories. So we are just breathing with the energies, with the felt sense in our bodies. And softening, opening. Returning. And then we call upon the presence of the Buddha, the Dalai Lama, Lama Zopa Rinpoche, Tara. Invite them, we call upon them into our temple, our meeting. And maybe at this time, it's appropriate to use the symbol of light. Bathing in light, or the light of the Buddha, the light of the Dharma, the light of the Sangha. The light of kindness. And I'll allow that light to infuse the whole inner space. But also your surroundings, this meeting. With your whole body, from the toes to the top of your head. And with each in-breath, you take in the light, and with each out-breath, you share the light. And whatever arises within you and around you comes and goes within that light. And then you rest. And returning, in case you get entangled in the stream of the inner dialogue, then you return to the flow of the in and out breath, to the sensations in your body, pleasant or unpleasant. Allowing what is to be. Every feeling, every sensation just wants to be experienced. And if you don't try to fix it or control it, get rid of it or get more of something else, so if you let go of that, letting go of the grasping, then a new possibility opens up, some spaciousness. And maybe that what I call light here is experienced by some of you as a stillness, as a vastness, as a presence. As a peace. Or you might not even have a word for it, but somehow something in your heart knows what is being pointed to. The words are not so important. And the experience itself is undescribable and ungraspable. The divine light, which is everywhere and nowhere, pervades everything. And is in the nature of love. And the movements of the conditioned mind don't disturb it. that remains pure. And it's not only that you're looked at from the divine light, it is actually the divine light which is looking through you. Breathing in light and breathing out light. Thoughts are recognized as thoughts. And there's nothing to do, no more further to go. Receiving light and giving light. And this celebration of the light can also connect us with the spiritual traditions of our families and ancestors, be it Christian or Jewish or other traditions, or the celebration of light, even back into our shamanistic roots. And it makes sense to say that they're all pointing to the same light. And then take your time to open your eyes. taking in your surroundings. So today, I would like to wrap up this section so that the next year we can start with the next part of the text. So we are in these 6 verses, and in these 6 verses, Tongme Sangpo goes through 6 scenarios, challenging scenarios, which we are all recognizing from our life. So it's something we all have experienced, more or less. The first one, the stealing, someone stole everything from you. The second one, someone taking your head off, being attacked, being criticized, unjustified. And then the third scenario, being humiliated in public. And then the next one, and we haven't looked at that, and I don't want to go into details, but that's verse 16. Even if a person you have cared for as your own child treats you as her worst enemy, lavish her with loving attention, like a mother caring for an ill child. This is the practice of a bodhisattva. I don't have children, but I know my sister is not talking with my mother. And that's a very painful thing to happen in a family. And probably, you know this kind of experience. Maybe you have done it for yourself for some years because it was the most healthy thing to do for some years. But for parents, that's a nightmare scenario, as it is for my mother. So it's very, very painful. Or you have a close friend and you have done a lot of things for that good friend, and suddenly that friend turns against you. So the process of working with these experiences is the same. And I just want to go through that, and then again tomorrow lead another Tonglen practice. So the first step in this practice is to step into the whole experience and feel all your feelings. So that's the taking, the practice of Tonglen, giving and taking. So the taking here is to go into the edges of the pain, to really experience all the feelings as best as we can without getting overwhelmed by them. So what that means is we first need to, in our practice, establish a seat and resources, which makes it possible for us to take the seat in the fire, to really step into the situation and feel all the feelings, unfiltered. You know? Even the feelings and the responses which are, in your own view, not politically correct. Something which is difficult to admit that you feel like this. So what does it mean to feel a feeling? In the context of Tonglen, it mainly means to feel it in the felt sense of your body. So tomorrow, when I will invite you again to step into a challenging area of your life, a challenging situation in your life, one of the important questions will be, where do you feel this in the body? Where do you hold the situation in your body? And Ken MacLeod in his commentaries does a good job into describing possible feelings connected with these 6 scenarios. So when we work with this text, we have the opportunity, using Ken MacLeod's commentary, to try to step into a situation like this, and also to check, where do I know this from my life from? Is something like this happening in my life right now? Has it been happening? Maybe not exactly like that, but similar. And what are the feelings? And where are they in the body? So the next step is that we are not only stepping into our own pain, we are also trying to walk in the shoes of the person who has inflicted the pain. So we start to recognize in this situation, it's not only we are suffering, but also the person who is involved is suffering. Of course, that to come to that capacity, we need to deeply start to see in ourselves how reactivity, how violence within us always comes from our own pain. So we need to make that connection that if someone inflicts pain on you, that person is suffering. Violence comes from pain. So we need to start to understand and have kindness and compassion with the many moments in our life when we are not responding aligned with our deepest values, when we become reactive and through our reactivity hurting others. When we start to understand that within ourselves, then we can see it in other people. So that's the taking in. And then we make that even bigger by this important step in the Tonglen practice, and that is, I'm not alone with this. This is not just me. It's not, oh, why is this happening to me? But it is the recognition in every situation. I'm not experiencing this just, it's not just me. There's many other people who is experiencing something like this, similar, maybe even worse. It's not personal. And by opening my heart to my own pain, I'm starting to open my heart to the pain which I share with other people. So the experiences starts to become a stepping stone to break through the illusion of separateness. And just that can make a difference, can trigger a bit of a shift. So when we can break out through this trance of, oh, it's me, it's about me, why is it happening to me? So that can make a difference. And in the part of the taking in, we open to the personal pain, to the pain of all the people involved, and then we make that circle even bigger. So, and then comes the giving, and here the giving is connected with the out breath. And we start by giving ourselves what we need. So we're giving that hurt space in us, that hurt aspect in us, that vulnerable aspect in us. We give that what it needs. And that can be kind of general, or what is always needed in situations like this is loving attention, caring, some healing. But it can be also specific to that situation. Yeah. Like in the practice of where, if we practice with the situation of stealing, the giving could be the sense of generosity, a sense of giving, sharing, generosity. If it's about a situation where you have been criticized, what can be given is praise and looking at the good qualities of people, pointing to their resources. So it can be specific to that situation. It's so precious when we start to cultivate a loving relationship to the different hurt aspects in us, as if they were children. And you're able to do that from the inner Dalai Lama, from the inner Tara, from the mother in you, from the father in you. So in your life right now, which wounded aspects of you are triggered to what is happening in your life, in your relationships, and do you recognize them? Which traumatized aspect of you, abandoned, exiled aspects of you you're ashamed of or you're afraid of because they feel so helpless or so violent or so self-centered, and understand the connection with your psychological history. How much of your response to a certain relationship problem you have right now, to a friend or to your parents or to your children, is actually very much influenced by a hurt part of you, a younger part of you. So one important idea here in the Tonglen practice is that situation like this and people like this who trigger your buttons, they are like teachers because they point to parts in you which needs healing, which you are not conscious about. And that's, in the Tibetan tradition, for example, a job of a qualified master is to make you aware of those aspects. So one part of the Lojong practice, and it's something which comes up in two of these verses, is to see difficult people who trigger you as teachers. Why is that? Or difficult situation as teachers, because it is the difficult situations, the difficult people in our life, which show to ourselves, to us through our reactions to them, if we are willing to be aware, where we are stuck, where there is something which needs our loving attention, something needs to be seen and recognized in us. And without that person and without that situation, we wouldn't become aware. It would stay in the subconscious. We would feel more awakened and more mature than we actually are. So you know this line in one or two of these 6 verses where it says you see them as a teacher. So the giving, starting with yourself, and then extending that to the person, if we're talking about a situation where a particular person is hurting you, to give to that person also what that person needs, which is pretty much the same of what your abandoned aspect need. So giving to that person what the person needs does not mean that we condone the behavior of that person or that we become friend with that person. It is just a wish towards that person to be happy, because we see the pain. And then again, we extend that. We extend that giving. May all the victims and all the people who inflict pain, may they wake up to their true nature. Giving, with the out breath, what is needed. So Ken MacLeod describes this insight that a difficult situation, a difficult person is like a teacher, like this. Your tormentor has brought out a reactive pattern in you and brought it out so vividly that you cannot ignore it. It jolts you awake. I wish that we all will remember that next time. When a situation like this happens, that it is an opportunity, that the reactive pattern, which is brought out so vividly, is brought out so vividly because you brought that reactive pattern to the table. And that it is brought out through that person, through that situation, is an opportunity, is a good thing. And it is a stepping stone. It has the potential, it is the opportunity for us to go beyond it. So then the practice of Tonglen is not a practice which invites us or leads to becoming doormats, just breathing with everything. So the idea here is also that through a reduction of our reactivity, we can connect with a deeper part of us, from where then we can respond to the situation. So Ken MacLeod writes, you cannot know what to do in any situation as long as you are in the grip of reaction. Reactions distort your perception and limit the range of possible responses. You cannot see clearly. You cannot make decisions clearly. Nor can you speak or act clearly. Those possibilities begin to open up only when you are aware that you are in reaction. Awareness is the key. I'm reminded of a conversation I had recently about someone who was very stressed around Christmas. And he didn't know what presents to buy. He didn't know if he wants to buy presents. He had all kinds of difficult feelings around it and was completely stuck. And somehow he thought I could I could help him, to find answers to all these questions. What should I buy, and so what I did a meditation, a Tonglen practice with him. And the first thing I did was what I just described. I asked him, so how do you feel with all this, with this whole complex thing? And there was more complexity with an ex and family and children. So it was a really complex situation. And he never had heard about the practice of Tonglen or something. So I just asked him to describe some of the feelings he had, and then I guided him through this process of, where do you feel this in the body? And he tried to find a solution to all these questions and be creative about presence in the same time, by thinking about it. In this, from that reactivity, from that stress. So I guided him into the body. So where does it sit in the body? Where do you feel it? And then in that process, we discovered that some of the feelings which were bleeding into this process came from his childhood, because he had very negative experience in childhood with a father who was alcoholic and so on. So that all played a role in his inner turmoil, but he was not aware of it. And now slowly he became aware of that. And then breathing with that and taking care of that little boy in him for whom Christmas was horrible. And other things from his history. And then breathing that in and being with the pain. And then extending that. Oh, I'm not alone with this. I mean, this is what Christmas does for us often. It brings up stuff, yeah? It brings us up inner stuff which is there all the time, but it's hidden. And Christmas brings it out. So, and then giving. So I asked him, this little boy back then, what did he need? Yeah. So we started with that boy, which was resisting Christmas, was afraid of Christmas, didn't want Christmas to happen because it was so painful. And so we did some Tonglen practice with that little boy. And somehow at the end, and I was surprised myself, it's always nice when kind of things work. They often don't work. Yeah, it's not like a recipe for everything. But because he calmed down and brought, and we came to that place of connecting with what Christmas actually means, is what it means. Yeah? Which is, of course, what that little boy really needed, the divine lights, being loved and conditional. And then at the end of the process, I mean, his heart became so creative with presence. So he's like, wow, and here I can give this, and I make a picture of that, and something really opened in him. Yeah, and it makes sense because when the reactivity subsides, the pain is addressed, and there's some more space. yeah, then something creative can come out. Yeah, so is there any question, comment?
Stephan, I have a question.
Yes.
Thank you for the teaching. In the section that you were reading, Ken McLeod ends that with this thought: attention has to be, when he's talking about awareness and attention, attention has to be at a level of energy higher than the emotional reactions that arise in you.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point to bring up. So what is meant with that? So what he's describing is that at that point, when we start to relax the identification with the content of our experience, and we become more aware of the space, we become more aware of the looking rather than what is being looked at. Or in other words, we become more aware of awareness. So we become more aware of the container within the situation is happening. And we are, and the light, the presence of that kind of overshines a little the content. So in the beginning, maybe when we start to discover this possibility to be in the witness perspective, like the witness perspective is maybe very small and the content is still very big. But then slowly, the witness perspective becomes bigger and we inhabit the witness perspective more than we inhabit the content. Before, we only inhabit the content and there's no space around. Like the problem has the shape of our body, and that's it. There's no space in there. There's no creativity. So everything is seen as important and maybe lasting, and we feel stuck in it. And then in meditation we learn, hey, yeah, but I can step out of that a little and I can become the observer. I am the witness. And that experience of being the witness, being awareness, that becomes bigger, and it becomes bigger, so that, and then it overshines the content, not in the sense that it makes it go away, but maybe in other words, you could say the light, the divine light, is stronger than what is being experienced. So you inhabit more the loving witness, loving awareness than that what you look at. Yeah. And that's something we start to discover in meditation, that possibility. So that would be, in the beginning of the meditation, I quoted him saying that the essence of Tonglen is to make that shift into awareness. So, and that shift into awareness, the identification as you as awareness, that becomes so strong, so big, that it overshines the content. Does that make sense?
Yes, thanks.
I have a question and something that I'm wrestling with.
Yeah, you're muted.
Just came back. I have a cousin, and many years ago, when California was passing a lot of Tibetan gay marriage, that's when I discovered my father.
It's very difficult to understand you.
Oh, sorry. I will ask another time.
Can you use another microphone or something?
I can't right now. I'll ask another time. I'll pass for now.
Yeah, okay, good. Thank you. Tomorrow, if you come. Yeah, first 17. Yeah, it's. I don't think we need to go into all the scenarios. Again, difficult people, seeing them as your teacher. So tomorrow I want to go into faith, into the last of these 6, which is verse 18. And we will start with a Tonglen practice tomorrow. So, I mean, also right now, so what is Tonglen practice right now is like with the in-breath, just being here, feeling your feelings, and opening the field into the connectedness with everyone else. All that sense of we're breathing together. And if there's something heavy on your heart, just be with that together. And then extending. If you feel some pressure on your heart, or you have some difficult feeling, we are not alone with this. I mean, we are in such difficult times, and it would be strange if we wouldn't feel it right now, somewhere in us. That part of what you experience right now is actually our collective experience. So it is this willingness to completely step into the situation as it is, and be here as a human being, and together with other fellow human beings who all struggle. And then with the out-breath, the giving, giving that what you feel love, care, tenderness, and then feeling in the moment you do it, you do it for all of us. It's like we're breathing together into this amazingly beautiful and amazingly difficult human experience. So the practice of Tonglen is really such a beautiful way to relax the sense of separation. With the out breath, may I be happy, may I be healed, and then extending that to everyone else. And then a difficult situation, a sickness, is a stepping stone towards what is most important, to cultivate the divine light, discover the divine light in you, around us. It's not so, maybe not such a Buddhist term, divine light, but could also say bodhichitta. So it's like with the in-breath, just being here and experiencing what you experience. And then in the out, with the out breath, to share loving presence. To share your divine nature. So then the practice of Tonglen ceases to be like a formal practice. It becomes more a way of living, moment by moment. And with the in-breath, just being present, feeling what is, all senses open, just stepping into the situation, like just stepping into life as it is, with all its feelings, with everything what is happening. And then with the out breath, loving what is arising. And so, and when you do that, that which is happening in your experience, somehow it ceases to be so personal, so important. Because it's us. It's us, and awareness is experiencing this. It's experiencing all of us. awake awareness is experiencing all of us. Buddha nature. So Tonglen becomes a really moment-to-moment practice. And it helps more and more to reveal awareness itself, unconditioned awareness, nature of mind. Then Tonglen is not only a practice which can deepen our experience of difficult moments, but it's also a practice of sharing beautiful moments. So at the end of this session, we can, with our out breath, we share the goodness of this meeting, the togetherness. So may from this situation we send out, with our out breath, we send out wishes for the people around us. In particular, the preciousness of the connection with the divine, with the Dharma, so that's so precious that we have that. The connection we have with bodhichitta and the teachings on emptiness, the connection with the light we have through the Dharma. So we can, with the out breath, we share that. May everyone experiencing this. And may our practice and our being together, may that create conditions so that other people may connect with this light in the darkness. Okay, thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be with you. Helped me very much. And yeah, see you tomorrow. I guess I can do it. I don't know. You never know, of course. But if I don't, then we will let you know. But it looks like that I will be able to do that. Okay. See you tomorrow. Have a nice day.
Thank you, everybody. Stephan, I hope you feel better.
I hope you feel better.
Yes, thank you.
So much, Stephan.
Have a good rest.
Bye.
Take care.